Hi, this is Myra with Boutique Paint. This week we're going to be working on some of our Christmas decor ideas, and we're making a sign today using Boutique Paint Design Stencil. This is our Christmas signs stencil, and a round. This is just a real thin round, 12 inches wide. And I already stained and then stamped with barnwood. But this is going to be the back. So I'm going to flip it over and I'll show you what I did here. I'm using Pure Home Paint Weathered Gray stain. And I'm just spraying it down a little bit. So that, because it soaks in so fast, stains do, to raw wood. So I just want to give it a little moisture. When you're using a board, especially a very thin board, you want to seal both sides. Otherwise, it will kind of warp. So I'm just going to quickly put this on and smooth out the lines. The water just helps it glide a little bit better and gives it a little time to, so it doesn't completely soak in right away. You have a little bit more control and also about how dark the stain is. And I don't want it super dark. This is such a great color. That's weathered gray. I don't know if you can see, whenever you get wood wet, it raises the grain. And I'm not sure you can see it, but it's kind of bumpy and lumpy. You can sand that, but anytime you get wood wet, raw wood wet, or even sometimes ones that have been refinished, there's kind of some thin spots, the grain will raise. And you can just sand that down with like a 220 sandpaper, and that'll knock it right down. For something like this, I wouldn't worry about the grain being raised, but I just thought I'd cover that since I had a chance. So I'm going to let this dry and be right back. Okay, the board's dry, and I'm going to use Iron Orchid Design black ink and the barnwood stamp. I'm only going to use one piece. I'm using this one because it's kind of light, since it's we already have quite a bit of wood texture in the round as it is. And we want to go the long way across the grain, or with the grain, this way. And I'm going to start at the bottom here, and I'm going to put the line just below the round. I could have scooted that over just a smidge because I'm off a little bit there. Okay. Usually I like to use the stone gray. When I use this stencil, I'm using the black because this is gray. The stain I used is gray. And I just thought it would show up a little bit better. Scoot it over so I get full edge. We're lining up the lines. The line that was already here with the bottom line there. That's a little lighter. I could go ahead and, ink up again and just stamp right there. I'm not worried about it. It just kind of fades off. But there was enough ink just to do that. And then one more time. And we're going to let the ink dry just a minute. It's not going to take long. The other color that would work really nice for this is weathered wood, DIY's weathered wood. That would make a nice backdrop color too. All right, we're just going to let that dry for a minute now, and we'll be back again. Okay, our ink is dry, and I'm using a foam stencil brush, for lack of better words, pouncer, and I'm using DIY's Marquee. And I'm just going to tap it in there, get a little bit on there. You're not supposed to go straight into your paint thing. You're supposed to pour it onto something. But I'm going to use the rest of this paint here this afternoon. So to make sure you don't have too much on here, well, let me back up a little bit. I centered this, and I put it a little bit, I centered it as far as right to left, and then I made sure there was a little bit or the same amount, and you can kind of just feel it around the edge here. But I dropped it down on the board a little bit because we're going to be decorating the top here. And I used our tackifier, or our tacking glue, I should say, on the back, and you roll it on, or you brush it on, and you wait about 5 minutes so that it gets tacky, and then you put it on. And the nice thing about that is then it helps the paint from not going underneath the letters. So go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pounce a little bit first, just to make sure that I don't have too much paint on my little pad here. And then I'll brush. If you get too much off just on it, just scrape a little bit of it off and then dab it onto your paper towel. Once again, just pounce a little bit. If you're worried that you're going to go over, just put a strip of tape there. And then it won't matter if you get too much up there. Okay, now I'm just going to go and then I use it more as a paintbrush. You definitely don't want too much paint on it. If it doesn't turn out dark enough for you, just go wait for it to dry and then do it again. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and let it dry. And then, I don't know what's beeping on my phone, something. And then we'll be back. Okay, I went ahead and lifted the stencil off as soon as I was done painting it. And now I'm taking a little teeny tiny brush. And you don't have to do this. You could just leave the stencil breaks in there. But if you want to close them up, I just take a little bit of paint and I kind of offload it onto a paper towel. And then my finger's all painted, so I'll probably put paint on the sign. And then you just carefully, and I have a shaky hand, so this is always fun. But you just kind of fill it in. You just need a little tiny bit of paint on the brush. And once that's dried, then we will start embellishing it. Okay, everything is dry. I've got my heat gun, glue gun plugged in, and I'm going to take a ribbon, and what I'm going to do is this is going to be the hanger. So I'm going to bring it down a little ways, because sometimes if you put things on the back and you don't do it right, the whole thing falls forward. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the front. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up just a little bit above the board, and then I'm going to create a V, and then I'm going to come down. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I'm going to cut it at an angle. And then I'm going to glue this in a couple spots. And of course, when you're working with glue, be very careful, hot glue. I'm taking the skin right off my pinky once using hot glue. It was not fun. It was a industrial heat gun, or I don't know why I keep wanting to call it a heat gun, glue gun. So it was hotter than most, but just be careful. Okay. So we have our loop. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the same on each side. It just has to be able to hold the board. And then I made a bow, and because I did a natural background, I wanted to keep it a little bit more natural. But this, I believe I got this little guy at the dollar store, and he would be cute on there. So, you know, whatever your style is. I think that, and then I have some little branches. This came off of a bigger branch, and then I clipped them. I think those are going to go underneath like this. And then I have these little red guys, and I'm going to layer this kind of like that. The whole thing's going to be up a little bit. So now that I got an idea, I'm going to go ahead and come back with the glue gun. I'm going to kind of make it a V towards the hanger here. And these little guys are always interesting because they have a tendency to kind of melt with the glue, hot glue, because they're foam. And I'm going to do the bow. I'm horrible at bows. I would think after all these years I could do them, but no. And I've seen some TikToks where they tie them, and they do really a good job. I just need to spend some time watching them, practicing. So if you're not good at bows, just get on TikTok or, you know, any of the different platforms. They'll have something on there. I don't know. I think I want these to go out a little bit. And then that's kind of boring there. Even if I bring my... Yeah, I think I want a little bit more. So even that would be cute. Or some pine cones. I don't have any pine cones right now. Otherwise, I think that's what I'd put in there. But the idea is just to embellish it to your taste up here. You could even do a few loops of this to tie it back in. Of just kind of coming in here and gluing like there and then there. And then here, and just kind of bring some more of that red in. I'll probably try to figure out something fun to put there, but for now, that's our sign. It does feel like it needs something right there. Kind of reminds me of a big Christmas ornament. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions about the products that I used today, you can go to my website at www.boutiquepaint.com. I think I will tack that little guy down though, right there. Thanks for joining me. Bye.